lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan.
And I'm Manny.
And we are back with another volume of Preacher Volume 3. For me, it's Preacher Volume 3. For Manny, he's reading it in the newer collections. So, but we're going based on the old ones. So Proud Americans is the title of this one. And another really good volume. I totally forgot. Like, I think we messaged each other too. Like, I forgot what happened in this one before opening it up, and man, dude, it's pretty. I mean, the intensity just keeps ramping up with this book.
Yeah, man. A lot of stuff happens in this arc too, man. I mean, you get like a lot more of the origin of Genesis. Like you really sort of like get a lot. You find out a lot about the Grail also.
Yeah, I like how it opens. It opens with a story about Jesse's dad, and kind of, and even from like the cover, like you're seeing the Zippo that he has, the fuck communism Zippo, right?
Yeah.
And like you learn the backstory of that, and it kind of ties into stuff that we've been talking about with John Wayne, right? Like I thought that was a pretty cool time. I completely forgot. 100% forgot about that.
The letter was a gift that John Wayne gave all the Marines when he visited them in Vietnam.
Yeah, so that was cool. Like that was a story that I completely forgot, and like, not to say that it's easily forgettable, but it's like it's just one issue, right? And it's not to say it's inconsequential, but it's like it's not pushing the narrative forward. It's just a nice little break from like the major story arcs, and I like that Ennis does that a lot. And
I was gonna say, like, now that I'm rereading Preacher again, I noticed that he does that almost pretty consistently, like when almost to give you like breathing room, because like we mentioned at the beginning, like the intensity is starting to ratchet up, and like like if you didn't I feel like if you didn't have that, it would almost be like too much, like you need a breather to let it calm down and get a little bit of a backstory. And like, it is nice to see Jesse's dad and like see how much like his dad Jesse is,
yeah. And I think
like
that
how they had such a brief time together, but Jesse's dad was such a huge figure to him regardless. Like, even though they didn't have a lot of time together, the lessons and like the way of being a man that Jesse's John, his name is John Custer, had in him are completely instilled in Jesse, and that opening chapter that you're talking about completely shows you that, like it could almost be Jesse, like he looks just like him kind of, and the things that come out of his mouth are very much like Jesse, like.
And it's crazy because like he didn't have a lot of time with his dad. He had a very brief time as a kid.
6 years at the most.
So to see that it's like within his DNA, it's kind of cool, and like the vehicle that Ennis uses to kind of get us to that story is Jesse in a bar, and it's one of the people that John served with. His dad served with in Vietnam.
Space,
and he thinks that it's John that he's seeing, right? And so then he tells him a story. He's like, "Hey, would you like your story?" He's like, "Yeah." I think that was a cool little way to get us.
I love the way it's written too, where he's like, "Son, would you like to hear something about your father?" He's like, "Yes, sir, I would like that very much." Because like, Jesse is not one to really show his emotions unless anger. He shows anger very easily, but like
that's true.
Like the way Ennis like draws that panel, I wanted to show it. Like it's almost like you can see Jesse almost reverting to like a child at that moment, like wide-eyed, like.
Yes, even the way he's saying it, yes, sir. It's like, like he's like,
I like that more than anything is what he says exactly, and it's just like, and that's what a child would say, like in that moment, like Jesse softens, his eyes are wider, you know what I mean? Like he's got like a softer expression on his face. Again, it shows you that Dillon is a very subtle artist, and he's so good. You know what I mean? Like he's so good.
I know it was such a loss when he passed, it.
Yeah.
I mean, just Preacher and Punisher, just like the collaborations with Ennis, dude, are like, for me, my favorite stuff that he did. I know he did a Hellblazer too, right? With Ennis for a little bit.
Yeah, he did a couple. Yeah, I might have even done more than one volume.
Yeah, that story like is such a great connection, and connecting like what it's funny because like that John Wayne connection was instilled in Jesse from a young age. That's why it's something that he sees, right? When he's basically tells him to nut up, like don't be a bitch, like handle your shit. So like that was the cool connection, like that we haven't seen and didn't like we knew it was from his dad, but like why did his dad have this connection? And like we're already, I mean, how many issues in are we? Like we're fucking so that was 18 issues in before we get that connection, right? So that was such a great story. But then, we get back into the main narrative, like what's going on. Jesse's coming to save Cassidy. Cassidy's been kidnapped by Star.
By the Grail. And he's being held in this like big, gigantic, like complex, which I'm not sure, but I think like the Grail is sort of like Ennis likes to like make references to like a lot of like old school like 60s and 70s action movies, like all the John Waynes, like Guns of the Navarone and all this shit. I think that's where Eagles Dare, because like there's that one line where Jesse's like looking at the complex for the Grail, and he's like, "Damn, we're preachers." You know what I mean? Like I think it's an homage to that. I haven't seen the movie, but he drops in a lot of things like that too.
Yeah, I think that the torture that Cassidy's put through here is just, it's next level. But I love, the Saint of Killers is one of my favorite characters in this run. What, like, him on the hunt for Jesse and stuff, and the angels like just being fucking terrified of him. Like that's crazy to me. Like you guys are fucking agents of God basically, and you guys are terrified of this fucking killer. His backstory is crazy too. And when you learn more of like how he got to where he was, I mean, insane, dude. And
like there's that issue where you see the Saint has been taking like a big ship, like a shipping like boat over to get to where the Grail is, and he's like fucking killed the entire like crew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and dude, like there's just so many different things. And this is like, I feel like you don't see it as much in comics now, where there's multiple plot threads happening simultaneously and multiple characters being focused on, and each are going there. Like paths are going to converge, but like seeing them all separate and all taking place at the same time, I think he does a really good job of juggling all the different plots going on, and like what Star's motives are, what Jesse's doing, even Cassidy within Star, and like Cassidy's own like little plot line that's going on as well. Again, like we see Jesse and Tulip, and he's constantly trying to protect her. She's telling him like, I'm going with you where doesn't matter what the fuck you want. Like I'm going.
He abandons her, but he leaves in the middle of the night,
in that panel, dude, where she's on the phone with him and she's like basically okay with it, and then you pan out and you see this hotel room is fucking destroyed because she's
he's like, "You're not mad, are you, baby?" She's like, "No, I'm fine." And then like you pulls back, you see it, and she's fucking smashed. I love how he does that, because like earlier on in the collection, like there's that scene where they get ambushed at the restaurant by all the Grail agents that don't speak any English, so that Jesse can't use his power on them. And I mean, she holds her own, dude. I mean, she's arguably a better at guns with Jesse even than Jesse.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so.
Like she's a tough woman, man. And like it's almost like, I mean, I agree with her. Like he actually would benefit from having her around, because she's fierce. But at the same time, as someone that's been in love before, like I understand like not wanting her to go, because,
it's also like, more, I think, of him not wanting to have to worry about her. Not that he thinks that she can't take care of herself. It's just like, I don't need the added kind of stress of thinking
because he's already on like this like mission. He's already got to save Cassidy. He's trying to find God. He's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, like he doesn't want to have to, like, as he's trying to take care of business, being like, okay, is she good though? Like, or do I need to like make sure she's okay? Like, you're just going in fucking by yourself. You don't have to look over your shoulder. You don't have to look around, make sure somebody that's with you is all right. You just have like one singular vision. You're going to fucking save your boy, and you're going to fucking get revenge against God. It's the stuff with Star, dude, like where he's, I mean, I don't need to get into it, but like he's scarred by like what happened in the previous volume, so he's got his like he's got his like female hooker, and like he just can't get it up. I think that those little moments just like,
when Jesse's looking through his Stars, I think like briefcase or something, And Star's like, hey, wait a minute, that's private. And there's like this fucking dildo with like spikes on it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. It's just like those little added like points that like are they
It's
necessary? No, but they make the
they're
book
not, but I
so
think
much
the
better.
point is to humiliate Star. Like
Yeah.
Star is one of the out of all the fictional characters I've read in my life, like I haven't seen a writer humiliate one character more than Star. Like deservedly so, because Star is like a fucking he's basically a Nazi piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like without technically being like a member of the Nazi party, but like he's a fascist. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
and just plain evil. So like to have all this shit happen to him is like it's super funny, and like
Yeah.
Star is also an interesting character, and you see it here because like he's pretty tough himself, but at the same time he's also kind of a coward. It's kind of like hard to describe in a way. I think you're nodding, so I
Yeah.
think you
No,
know what I
I
mean.
know what
Like
you're talking about. Yeah, he is because he is kind of a little bit of a bitch.
yeah,
But then there's moments where like just completely ruthless, and he
right.
shows like
He's
there's nothing.
ruthless when he knows he's in control, but the
Yeah.
moment he loses control, he freaks the fuck out and is like a coward and like completely moves into self-preservation mode,
Hmm.
and it's just wanting to watch for himself. And like this art, a big part of it is the introduction of the current All Father of the Grail, like who's another fucking fantastic character.
God.
And you start to see why maybe Star wants to take over the organization, because this guy is like useless almost, like I always have trouble pronouncing his name. Is it
Look
Darnik?
at
Yeah,
this. Look at this dude. Look at it. I mean, my
yeah.
God.
One thing I have forgotten is they mentioned here is that he's actually a cousin of Jesse's grandmother.
Dude, I forgot that too.
I
That's
forgot that too.
also,
Yeah,
yeah. In case anybody's wondering, like, expect a lot of spoilers, for this
yeah,
book. But yeah, that was something that I didn't remember either, and I think that that's crazy how it all is connected. How he's
yeah.
like connecting like these little like people that you wouldn't even think are connected to Jesse. Like, why are they? How did she know? Like, how did she know about his power and stuff like that? Right? Like, that's
Now you find
all.
out it was, yeah,
So like that was pretty crazy. I think the stuff that like is the most like intense too is just like watching Cassidy be tortured this entire time. Like just like they're constantly killing him because he's gonna come back. Like it's not
yeah,
like he's gonna die forever. And then
by a
Frankie
hitman who
just
has no dick. You
no
know what I
dick.
mean? Like,
Yeah, dude. And that dude is just like it's funny because like he just seems
Frankie.
like
Yeah,
he's kind of like a badass. He got no dick anymore, dude. Like, like he gave like this dickless fucking mafia guy, but he made him badass. And like, but then again, him too, like he's kind of like Star, where when he's in control, he's fine. But then once he loses
yeah,
that control, it's like, okay, now you're reverting to who you really are inside, which is you're a little bitch.
yeah,
Like Star, again, you watch the contrast of him with Cassidy locked up and he's being fucking tortured, right? And then you
yeah,
see Star with Darren turns into a little bitch. And then especially when Jesse is fucking has his power available to use against him as well, like it just you see. But then there's moments it's like he constantly is. It's very fluid with the type
yeah,
of character you see Star as throughout the book
yeah.
going forward too, not just in what we've seen now, but he's an interesting character. He's an interesting, I don't want to call him villain, but like an interesting antagonist for Jesse.
Yeah, like a foil almost,
Yeah,
like
foil. That's what I was gonna say too.
yeah,
Yeah, but like, look, Darren E too. Like, Star's been manipulating, trying to get basically the heir of Jesus,
of
who's like
Jesus. Yeah,
an inbred, just fucking just the biggest like redneck inbred kind of character that you could
yeah,
think of, right? And so he wants to put Jesse in power, like, but he wants to control Jesse. So
yeah.
it's interesting in that sense that like he's kind of terrified of him, but he wants to control him, which is never going to happen because Jesse can basically tell
Jesse is
you
someone that won't be controlled, and like
exactly.
that's I think that's what Star doesn't realize is that like there is no controlling Jesse. Like Star's goal is to like use Jesse to push forward the Grail's like plan for the apocalypse and have like like the Messiah return, and instead of using this inbred like kid that's been like just basically, I mean, another spoiler, like the Grail has been keeping the bloodline of Jesus, quote unquote, pure for like, you know, thousands of years, by just allowing like, you know, like the siblings that Jesus had and whatnot to just breed with each other and keep giving birth to the point where you get this like boy who like can barely even talk, you know,
Yeah, he's such a
like
fucking
it's and
yeah,
like
but
some of the shit that Star says about the fucking boy are hilarious. I'll give you this, like I don't want anyone to think that like I like Star as a character, but he says some funny ass shit sometimes, man. Like some of the shit Star says is like I forget sometimes as like Preacher is such a great comic because it's filled with so much action and emotion. Very few times have I ever laughed out loud reading a comic like I do when I read Preacher sometimes. Like just
yeah.
some of the shit that is said in the dialogue, it's just hysterical, man, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I definitely laughed out loud to this book. It's funny because like it's rare when I laugh out loud to a comic. I can't remember what it was the other day. I should know since it's rare that it happens. But I was reading something the other day too that kind of gave me that reaction, and I think that's when you can do that, dude. When you can make somebody laugh out loud at reading, that's a testament to your writing skill. And I don't think it's like you're not a fan of Star, you're a fan of Ennis. Like that's the way I
Yeah,
look at it. If you're
yeah.
reading a character and you're like you like it, it's you're not really liking the character so much as you're liking the writing, you know, of the way that because anybody can write a comic, but doesn't mean you or anybody can write, let's say Joker, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
it can go one or way or the other, and you can like what the Joker says, but or you can not like it. And I think that that's based on the way they're written, right? And I love the interaction between Jesse and the Saint of Killers and how they team up in here, and
Yeah,
how
they have a mutual respect that I think runs along through most of the series, you know?
yeah,
Like
I forgot about some of this. Like I didn't remember this part. Like this is getting into territory where like I've only read this stuff once because like I
yeah,
think I read the first couple volumes multiple times, but then there's a gap where I didn't read Preacher and I got back into it like, a couple of years later, for certain circumstances. But yeah, I think that it's an interesting connection between the two. I think that meeting Genesis, the dad, right? The angel part of
yeah,
the parentage and getting the backstory on them, and then like Genesis is fucking tied up, or not Genesis. I mean, the angel's tied
yeah.
up, and then he's manipulating. It's all manipulation, dude. Like all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
characters
What I
manipulating
love
them.
here also with the relationship, like you get the origin of Genesis, which is, you know, his father was an angel, mother was a demon. What I love is like the guilty party here, like the real piece of shit is the angel. Like, you know, you know,
Yes.
he has this like intense like physical moment with the demon that leads to like, you know, like the demon being pregnant with Genesis. And then when the angel finds out that this demon is pregnant with his offspring, his first like instinct is to fucking kill her and the child, you know? And I'm just like it's I love this idea that like heaven is almost worse, you know what I mean? Like heaven is like this almost like fascist like organization built on domination. Like what I'm realizing is that Ennis is criticizing like, you know, organizations in general, and like the nature is like almost like the bigger an organization gets, the more out of control and fascist it becomes. You know, like you
Yeah.
see it with the Grail, you see it with Heaven,
Yeah, you're
and
seeing
real
that
quick,
you're seeing that nothing is like you have a being of what you
nothing
would
is
say
black and white.
yeah, you would see a being that is a pure, right? An angel, and you see a demon that is supposed to be basically evil, the complete opposite of pure. And you're seeing it flip, right? And he's
Yeah,
turning it on its head and he's showing you that nothing is black and white, nothing is pure, nothing is completely good, nothing is completely evil. And I think that that's prevalent throughout the
but
book.
even Star, like once we get into the chapters later that show you his origin, like even Star, he doesn't see himself as evil. He feels the world is chaotic and he wants to control it, and this is his way that he thinks that it needs. You know,
I
like
think most villains are that way, though. I think
yeah,
most
yeah,
most
good
villains,
villains
except
anyway.
yeah, I think most good villains, like Doctor Doom, would be a
Yeah,
great example. Like he thinks what he's doing is right, and
yeah.
like there's
Actually,
times where
that's a good comparison. You know, like
yeah, and you can, and like I've read a ton of Doctor Doom, and I'm like, I get it.
yeah,
I'll read what he's. I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, I kind of understand what you're doing. And there's
I,
and there's plenty of villains that I feel the same way. I think even like Lex Luthor. I think in
yeah,
his mind, obviously, like I mean, I don't think it's any secret. He thinks he's right, and I think that there's times where like I kind of get what he's saying, and I think anybody that can write a good Lex Luthor or a good Doctor Doom puts that in there to where when you're reading that character, you're like, I kind of like Magneto again. Magneto,
Yeah.
another one. You're like, yeah, I get what they're doing. Maybe I'd be on their side a little bit, and then you kind of question yourself. You're like, well, am I bad then too? You know. But I mean, I think that's a good writer, dude, and this is perfect at that.
And I found a line that made me laugh out loud. Like, earlier we were talking about the Jesus is, like a descendant who's like, a product of inbreeding.
Oh.
And Star is talking with his right hand man about this, And I love what Star says. He says, it's like, son of God or son of man, Marcial, you can't fuck your sister and expect much good to come of it. you know?
Yeah, I love this, dude. Look, I mean, this is what I really love. Look at these 2 pages right here. Perfectly show Star.
Yeah.
He's over here and he's like feels like he's in control, right? And then you go all the way down to this. And that look at the complete difference from here, right?
The facial expressions.
Yeah, dude, he completely like reverts to like panic where he thinks he's in control, dude, and he's not. And
he cut Star's head to look like a fucking dick, like again, it's just like the level of humiliation is like it's so funny, man. Like, look, when we get to the end of the series, you'll see like fucking Star has gone to just about every terrible thing a person can go through, like deservedly so, like
and God's still on the mission, dude, to fucking get Jesse, And I love that, like, again, something else to mention too is that Star, he thinks he's so clever, dude. Like all these things he's doing behind the scenes to kind of overthrow the organization and take over. He's not, Darren knows exactly what's happening.
The current Godfather knows, and he drops hints all the time. And like, I love how Star's like, that fat fuck, bro. He knows what I'm doing.
What made me laugh out loud is when he gets off the plane and he just lands on somebody, and that's it. That dude's dead.
The plane is like landing out sideways, and then you see like when the plane's landing, it like almost crashes and Star's like every fucking time, like. Again, dude, it's funny. I forgot how fucking funny Preacher is. Like, it is one of the funniest comics I've ever read.
Yeah, dude, it was. I mean, there's a reason why this is a book that stays in print and stays available. I think that it's always going to have its audience. It's always going to be something that you can easily recommend to somebody. You're not signing up for like a lot of comics, right? 60 issues, and with some tie-ins as well. But it is so good from beginning to end, and it only gets better. It never falters. I mean, we're 3 issues in. We're 24. I think there's 20. We're at issue 26 by the end of this trade that I have in my hand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't slow down, dude. It's constantly like keeping up the pace. Like introducing new stuff. Things push forward, but then as things kind of come to an end, we start merging into something new. Cassidy gets saved, obviously, by Jesse,
and you get some of Cassidy's backstory here too.
Yeah, I love that too, and that's how we end. We end with some Cassidy backstory and kind of why he doesn't want to have deep connections with people, because he once you find out how he becomes the vampire, right?
Yeah,
and then you see how he starts to realize like people are going to get older, they're going to start to notice that I'm not, so I have to take myself out of it, and I love how like. You see him come back to like an old bar that he had been to in years.
And he runs into his old friend who's like much older now.
Right. But he's like, I always knew there was something about you. But I think that the relationship between Jesse and Cassidy, Jesse fucking goes fucking just insane. Like action hero type thing where he goes into fucking and by himself goes to save his buddy.
He storms the fortress basically,
goes to save his buddy, and Cassidy, like he because Cassidy saved Jesse too by pretending that he was him, right? So that's how you got captured. Yeah. But like you see, like that relationship just gets stronger, and that's what makes what happens in later volumes like so bad. I won't say it, but like but it really fucks with their friendship, dude. Like and to the sense where I kind of can't remember how like it all ends, but I mean I'm happy that I don't remember how everything ends, but I do know that something takes place that I don't see how you could come back from, and it's like that's why it's because of what Jesse does here. That's what makes it so much more hurtful. What Cassidy.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it's cool that it was in this like string of episodes that we get a background for Jesse's dad and for Cassidy, because these are two male figures in Jesse's life that are very important, you know, and like learning about them makes them much richer, and like you understand them better, and you understand their relationship with Jesse more, you know, because Preacher has so many themes to it, you know what I mean? Like it's an attack on organized religion, you know. It's also an exploration of masculinity, I think,
Yes.
and what it means to be a man, you know. To a degree, it's also an analyzation of the Western genre, you know, and what and its place in pop culture. Like Preacher is so multi-layered, and I think it's a as it goes on, you start to see more layers, and this one in particular has, I think, like where it's just spread out wide open, and you start to see like what a huge canvas Preacher is being painted on, you know, like for lack of a better term. It's like I love this strung of stories. Like I read it like breathlessly, even though I've read it before, you know, and like it was just great, man. You know, like fantastic, man.
Yeah, I think I read it almost one sitting. I think I
Maybe
read
like
like,
two or three for me, but like no more than that, you know.
yeah, I
And
think
I
I
would
read,
find myself like having to wrap up reading because I had to go do something else, and I just didn't want to, you know, like
yeah, I think that, yeah, because I think we like, like, kind of breaking kayfabe, but like we were supposed to record this, what, like a week and a half ago, maybe a week ago.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
But
know.
like life
But
kept
like,
getting in the
yeah,
way for
but
me.
life got in the way. So like it was definitely more fresh in my mind. So like that's probably why I think I had some stuff I should have wrote it down. I feel like there was some
Yeah,
stuff I wanted to talk about, but I kind of forgot. But I think, yeah, the gist of it, I think we kind of covered. I think that a lot happens. I don't want to say everything that happens, but I think we gave a great overview of kind of what you got in this volume, and I think that
yeah. I mean,
there's
and
a
a
lot of
lot
good
does
stuff.
happen story wise. I mean, you know, because of what happens to Darnique, Star becomes All Father because he's next in line, and you know, he fucking the way he kills Darnique is funny too. Like pushes him out of the helicopter, and the fucking guy like lands on the fucking like descendant of Jesus. Like very great visual gag, you know.
Yeah, no, this is a great volume, dude. I
And
absolutely
and
loved it.
the Saint of Killers assault on the Grail complex is fucking crazy too. Like that one scene where like they're just throwing soldiers at him, and he's like, the soldiers are like, bro, the bodies are piled up on top of each other, like we can't even get through. So you get this idea, like the Saint is just massacring, butchering the fuck out of people. Like it's also a very action packed
I was gonna say that
part.
this is one of the most action-packed volumes that I think we've had, like consistently with action. I think some
Yeah,
of the
we got
earlier
Jesse and
volumes.
Tulip's fight at the restaurant. You know, we got the assault on the complex. We got the fight with Jesse and Star. Like, you know, the ending, the escape from the complex. Like it's like this volume is very much like an action movie. I mean, Preacher is also a big like homage to action films, I think, you know. So like you're gonna see that in a lot of the volumes, but this one in particular had a lot of action movie stuff going on.
No, yeah, I think it was one of my favorite volumes in the series. Like looking back, like because I kind of remember what happens in some of the later volumes, but I once I got into this one, I started remembering. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how dope this was when Jesse just fucking goes, and then the Saint of Killers, like that's a character that you could almost do an entire series on. Maybe
You
not
could,
maybe not a super long series, but like a good, like maybe 3 or 4 volumes worth, of his
yeah,
story throughout time, because like
yeah,
obviously
I
he's
agree.
he's obviously used multiple times by heaven, right, to fucking be
Yeah,
the
to do,
basically being the wrath of God.
yeah, the Wrath of God incarnate. You know,
Yeah,
he's a great character.
he is a really good character, and I'm a sucker for westerns, dude. Like I mean, I know we keep saying this is already 3 episodes we've talked about Preacher, but I love this series so much, and I'm so glad that
Well,
I'm
I think
so
I said
glad
it
that
in
I'm
the
so
first
glad
one.
that we
It's my
decided.
favorite comic book of all time.
Yeah, I'm so glad we decided after reading volume one to just do the entire series. Because like I've done that a lot where like I'll talk a volume one of a series, and like, do I want to continue? Do I not? Because like it's a huge undertaking, and it's like sometimes I just want to put out different kinds of content, but Preacher needs to be talked about more. It's time to shine some light
Yeah,
on
I
it.
mean,
Some
in the pantheon of Vertigo series, like, I mean, to me, it's as much as I love Sandman and I've read that and I love it. Like, Preacher is much more closer to my sensibilities than Sandman is. You know, like to me, my favorite Vertigo series is Preacher. You know, and I think it should be as lauded as Sandman as being like quintessential Vertigo, because like if you've been curious about like the Vertigo imprint, and Sandman might seem a little bit too like literary or whatever for you, I'm not using that as an insult, you know, like because like
I know
you
what you
know
mean. I totally get what you're saying.
this is something I think that you would love, because it's as layered as Sandman, as full of like different stories and fantastic characters and like infusions of actual history, but it's just so much grittier that I think it offers a nice alternative.
I also, to be fair, you know, like maybe this is my way of making a loophole for myself, but Sandman didn't start as Vertigo. It became Vertigo.
Yeah,
Swamp Thing didn't start as Vertigo. It became Vertigo. So if I'm going based on stuff that started out as Vertigo, I can think of my top four right now. I can five. I guess I would throw Sandman in there. Sandman or Swamp Thing, maybe
yeah,
tied, but it would be Preacher, 100 Bullets, Scalped, and DMZ. Those like for me
yeah.
are my favorite. Then Why the Last Man is really good too. But you know, like I like more of like this type of stories, like crime, noir. Like those are the ones
Mhm.
that I kind of dig the most.
Same.
So yeah, but Preacher, yeah, I think if you think Vertigo, I think Preacher is probably one of the first books people think of, for sure.
Yeah,
Besides Sandman and maybe Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing maybe is like hit or miss. I don't know if people technically think Swamp Thing with Vertigo, but obviously Sandman, Preacher is probably, and then Constantine, but Hellblazer,
yeah.
but people probably just call it Constantine. But yeah, another great volume. I can't wait to read the fourth
To
one.
keep going, yeah, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm
I'm
excited.
excited.
But
I've
yeah,
already
that's
got the other volume pulled off the shelf, ready to go. So
yeah. So that's all I got for this one. If
yeah, man. Same.
Yeah, so I hope you guys can go pick up Preacher, continue these episodes with us as we read through the series, and Manny's links are down below. Comic Lounge links are down below as well, and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we're out.